In our last video, we left the marina where we purchased and refitted our boat Atlas, and sailed our way across Lake Erie just in time to hunker down and avoid some strong winds from Hurricane Debbie. Now, we're ready to get our mast pulled so we can travel through the Erie Canal. Join us as we travel 338 miles across New York State so we can start making our way south to the Chesapeake Bay. Once our mast was pulled, our trip from Buffalo began on the Niagara River. The current at the mouth of the river can be over 5 knots, which is a bit hazardous for a boat like ours. Thankfully, the Black Rock Canal allowed us to safely navigate to the start of the Erie Canal. Along the way, we had to go under a lift bridge and through a lock. The bridge had a clearance of only 15 feet, and we just managed to squeeze under. The lock, which was our first ever, dropped us 26 feet back into the river. The Erie Canal was built between 1817 and 1825 and was the first navigable waterway connecting the Atlantic Ocean to the Great Lakes region. Originally, there were 82 locks along the canal, but today there are 34. When the St. Lawrence Seaway opened in 1959, commercial traffic drastically declined on the canal, and today it is mainly used by recreational vessels during the opening months from May to November. The elevation change from Lake Erie to the Hudson River is 565 feet. Since we were traveling east, all but 3 of the locks dropped us in elevation. Good morning. We are currently on the Erie Canal. We have been on the canal for a couple of days now, heading east. So far, we've been really enjoying our trip. The west portion of the Erie Canal has been pretty remote, and we've seen a lot of really pretty wilderness and farmlands and rural areas of the state. It's been really, really nice. It's kind of been a scenic couple of days. We've really enjoyed it. There haven't been many boats as well, so it's just kind of felt like us on our own out on the canal, so we've been really enjoying that aspect of it. The towns that we've stayed in so far have all been really nice as well. Just a lot of really small town America that we've been going through. So far it's been really cool. Obviously we've been going through a couple of locks, but yeah, so far, like I said, we've been really enjoying our trip here. It's really exciting that we're on the Erie Canal. We were saying the other day how it's just like kind of a big milestone because it's something we've been talking about for several months now since we bought our boat, knowing that we'd eventually have to cross the Erie Canal. So I think to finally be here, it's just been exciting for us.
We really enjoyed all the free walls through the towns. It's been fun. Yeah. It's been very convenient. Yeah. Hasn't
been too expensive to go through. Expensive because we've been eating out probably more than we should. But
that's true.
But we have been really enjoying that. Most of the towns along the canal do offer free walls. Some of them even offer like free electrical and water hookups. The adventure continues. I think we're a little under halfway through the canal, so.
Yeah, we're at mile marker 172 out of, I think, 330 miles?
Yeah.
Almost halfway.
Most of the locks along the canal have ropes for boaters to hold onto as they are raised or lowered in the lock. When we would approach a wall, I would use a boat hook to grab a line while Dylan brought the boat to a stop. As the lock chambers would fill or empty, we'd use the lines and boat hooks to keep the boat away from the lock walls. Some locks were in better shape than others, and this one is a good example of the more deteriorated walls we occasionally had to deal with. We really made sure to keep some distance between the fenders and the walls so that they wouldn't get pinched on the rough surfaces. If you have any plans to go through the Erie Canal anytime, I highly recommend a good pair of gloves because many of these ropes are nice and slimy with brown sludge. Looks like we're coming up to a junction here. We're gonna be headed over this way, which is gonna take us to Lake Oneida. If we were to head this way, that would take us north. That's the Oswego Junction. So this canal will take you up north to Lake Ontario, which is another popular route that a lot of boaters take to get onto the Erie Canal. So exciting. I think we're a little bit under halfway. The Oswego Canal connects Lake Ontario to the Erie Canal. Boaters that have a higher clearance may choose to take this route over the western portion of the Erie Canal, since the lowest clearance on the western portion is only 15.5 feet. The Oswego Canal's is 21. After spending the night in Baldwinsville, we awoke early to cross Lake Oneida. It was important to us that we got an early start so that we could have as little wake from other boaters as possible. Even though we had done a good job securing our mast, we didn't want to risk it. We had heard stories of other people losing their mast after getting rocked by a large wake, and that was something we really couldn't afford to risk. Thankfully, besides trying to outrun a rainstorm, we had no problems crossing. The drama didn't start until after we crossed, and I, very unfortunately, ran our boat aground for the first time on some shoaling. Not to worry though, because Dylan was able to reverse us out no problem, and we're pretty sure there was no damage done because it was soft mud, but it was definitely a few scary moments though regardless. After passing through Lock 17 in Little Falls, the landscape surrounding the canal took on a new look. The Eastern Canal follows the Mohawk River along I-90, and what was once quiet farmlands and wilderness became busy highways and trains. We had a few days of rain, but it wasn't all that bad. It was just a good reminder that we could really use some foul weather gear for days like those. Our current soft dodger does a great job at keeping the sun off of us, but any rain is currently dumped right into our cockpit. Finally, after 10 days on the canal, we arrived at the Waterford flight, which are the final 5 locks before the Hudson River. In the span of just over a mile, the locks dropped us 168 feet, making it the highest elevation change in the shortest distance for any canal system in the world. We tied up to the wall in Waterford after our final descent, where we took a couple of days to relax and finally begin planning the next leg of our trip. In the next video, we'll start making our way down south down the Hudson River. We hope you guys join us as we transform back into a sailboat and go past New York City before tackling our biggest challenge yet, sailing down the New Jersey coast for our first ever overnight sail. Thanks for watching!